If someone had provided me a list of names that I just rattled off, this would have been the last person on that list that I would have thought would make the most sense and would be the most honest. Not completely honest, but the most honest.
We starting with Stephen A. Hurt feelings for Captain Smith.
Oh, so you saw that one too then?
Man, I was laughing like a motherfucker. He let that motherfucker get up under his skin. But Stephen A. Smith got caught capping. Let's start putting motherfuckers on blast for capping. If you capping, you capping. Motherfucker, Stephen A. Smith lied about hooping for Winston-Salem State. It was all a cap. Because when you put that shit in your little memoir book, a puss-ass book, you know niggas ain't reading that shit anyway. But for them motherfuckers to be trying to get at his ass, they read it. And they caught you up, didn't they, nigga? Because some dude said some shit that I was in agreement with. When a motherfucker get caught, he don't never say, you lying. He get to talk about you. You fat bastard. I can't stand that fat bastard. You can't stand that. He is a fat bastard. Both of y'all the same type of nigga, but he caught you, Stephen A. You was capping.
When I watched this the first time, I nearly fell out of my chair. Corey Holcomb cannot stand me. Corey Holcomb, for a solid 10 years, if not longer, I don't know, has been trashing me. He used to do it over Twitter, and I think they suspended his account, not because of me, Corey. I'm telling you I had nothing, because I could care less what you have to say. He on his 5150 show, he's been trashing me for years. I hear from people. Corey Holcomb and I don't have much of a history, but we have a history. I met Corey Holcomb years ago. Again, he's one of these guys I met through my friendship with Jim Brown, my association with Amara I Can, my relationship with Rock Johnson, and a guy that Bobby Glanton Smith. I believe that Bobby Glanton Smith, I think, is who introduced me. And Bobby used to work for Jim Brown. And Corey, particularly at that time, an amazing young comedian. When I say this, and people that follow black comedians, and I hate to use, but you just follow black comedians, I'm just sorry. They know how funny Corey is, and that Corey had the potential to be Robin Harris or Bernie Mac. Corey had big time talent, signed a development deal at a young age with one of the major networks or whatever. But, Corey's got some demons, some vices, I think, that undermined him getting that high level of success. And Corey is comfortable. His personality fits working smaller comedy clubs, catering to an all-black audience. I call it affectionately, some people hear it, the Chitlin circuit. And he does well. People love him. He has a passionate audience. And so I knew Corey years ago, maybe it's 15, 20 years ago, for a very brief time. And then, as I can't say a sin, but as Corey saw the opportunity to work me into whatever he was doing with his show, 5150, and some of his comedy or whatever, he started trashing me because, Corey is a leftist or, the stereotypical left-wing black dude. And so, he started trashing me. I'm like, okay, cool. Corey, do your business. I'm gonna mind my own business. To see this dude, and he did, again, he wasn't perfect because he did lie, because at some point, we didn't play the whole deal, but he pretended like he had trouble remembering my name and blah, blah, blah. But, that's fine. He's above me, or he's above mentioning, talking about me, or pretending to be. But to see him say, you know what, screw it. I don't like Whitlock, but this point he's making about Stephen A. Smith, this is real. And we're in the year of truth. And I like people exposing truth, because Corey's the type to do it because he's had so much comedic talent. He knows the truth of what Cat Williams is saying. The most talented guys aren't at the top. It's the ones that will go along to get along and will get on message. And Corey is only going to get on basically his message, or what he thinks works for him. Is it a controlled message? I believe so. Corey is running around, basically his point of view. It may not come fully across in his comedy, but if you listen to his 5150 show or whatever, Corey's one of these guys. Black people are victims, and white people control everything, and people like Whitlock that actually think the black man can stand on his own 2 feet and needs to let the victim stuff go. They're sellouts. And so, I think it amazes me, these guys that, and I'm not saying, because I don't know Corey's relationship with Jim Brown, but some of these guys attached to Jim Brown. It's like me and Bobby Glanton were friends for a long time. And then eventually I figured out, man, Bobby is a part of Jim Brown's program, America I Can, and he can quote everything about America I Can, but he ain't gonna live none of it. Because Jim wasn't about no victimhood at all. America I Can was about men standing up and standing on their own 2 feet and taking responsibility for their life and all that. And so there would be guys associated with Jim Brown that loved Jim Brown, but would not practice any of his methods and would not implement or fully embrace any of his methods. They could quote it and they could run around and I'm friends with Jim Brown, but in terms of embracing that message, no dice. Too high risk, would put them at odds with their women. And so they just rejected it. And that's where I think, and again, I don't remember and don't know how close Corey was to Jim Brown, if Jim Brown had any influence on him. But I met him through Bobby Glanton, who was connected with America I Can, and Corey, Corey's comedic audience. Black women, big part of it, the matriarchy. And so you have to cater your message to that audience. And he's done that. And so attacking to me works for him. And Corey, continue at it. I don't have a problem with it. Just say my name right, which you eventually did. But I have to say, out of everybody, Corey was the one guy that went at the real issue and the real point. Stephen A. Smith is a pathological liar. And Corey, if you, there's so much material. If you go look at Stephen A. Smith and all the millions upon millions of lies that Stephen A. Smith is comfortable just in casual interviews saying, I want to put that, before we go, I want to put this clip, the drug dealing clip. I want Corey to get this as well. Corey, before I play this clip, I just want to give you the background. Stephen A. Smith, when he graduated high school, out of his own mouth, was 5'9", 130 pounds. He flunked 4th grade. He's dyslexic. Everybody in his neighborhood thought he was stupid, borderline retarded. He's stated on record that his high school counselor laughed out loud when Stephen A. Smith said something about going to college. He barely made his high school basketball team. His senior year left the team after a month or two because he basically riding the bench. He was a midget. He was thin, couldn't play. I've talked to some of his high school teammates. But Corey, I want you to listen to Stephen A. Smith talking about how drug dealers in Hollis, Queens protected him. There's so much material on Stephen A. Smith, just out of his own mouth, just using his own words against him. Let's play the drug dealing clip. I'm giving this to you as a gift, Corey, or you can continue to crack jokes on me. I don't care, but here's my gift to you from Stephen A. Smith.
That we just finished talking about when I talk about how, I'm not snitching, I'm not talking, I'm not getting into people's personal business or whatever. I grew up with that code. One of the biggest drug dealers in Hollis literally lived directly across the street from me, and he was a killer. And it was understood, Steve is not to be touched. You got dealers in Hollis. Steve is not to be touched. They understood that there was potential in me, and they literally threatened they were going to whip my ass if they ever saw me on the corner involved in the drug game in any way. They said we didn't have a choice.
How did they know? How did they know that about you?
They would see me on the basketball court. First of all, the level of diligence that I put forth, that I'd shoot like 300 J's a day and stuff like that. They'd see me in school. They know I came home, I'd do my homework, put in the work, whatever. They knew that I wasn't trying to be about that life. And so their whole mentality was, you got your mother there, you got your 4 older sisters there, active part of your life. You got a support system. You don't have to do this. We did. We made our choice. But we ain't going to let you make this choice. And literally, I've had several of them tell me, we will f*** you up. Do not be on this corner. Do not be doing this. Do not be going to bust your ass. Wow. And they meant it. And I knew they meant it. And so they would sit up there, they'd let me shoot, stuff like that. It would get dark. They had to get into their game. They said, all right, it's time for you to go. But it was understood. People in the neighborhood, it was widely known, do not touch me with that game.
Corey, thank me later. I believe, my memory, I think Corey's from Chicago. I think Corey knows a little bit about hood life, I think. This is based off memory. Probably haven't talked to Corey in 15, 20 years. Virtually everything that comes out of Stephen A. Smith's mouth is exaggerated or a lie. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.